Welcome to the Seat 14 podcast, a different perspective on college basketball told by those who lived it. Join us as we bring you insider views, analysis, breakdowns, and predictions from one of the most storied programs in the country, from someone who saw it all from the end of the bench, the 14th seat. In association with the Field of 68 and alongside producer Jordan Barber, I'm your host, Todd Lanter, and this is Seat 14. Welcome into Seat 14, episode 18. Today is Wednesday, March 23rd, 2022. Coming off of Kentucky's disappointing finish to the season with a loss to St. Peter's in the first round of the NCAA tournament.
You've been hiding.
A little less
hiding. I had to get you on here.
I have. I've been rationalizing, compartmentalizing. The show must go on, but it's disappointing to say the least.
Yeah. Before we really get into it, I just want to give you a little bit to just express yourself, vent, do whatever you got to do before we actually discuss what happened.
I mean,
what's the state of the program right now?
I think everybody's, I don't want to say overreacting. I think this is the worst loss, in the Cal era of obviously in the tournament. You look at like the NIT year in 2013 where we lost in the first round to Robert Morris. That was disappointing, but we had, our best player. Yeah. We had our best player get hurt. We had a decent season. We lost 11 games, a few of those coming after his injury. We knew we weren't going to amount to much by the end of the year. This team had so much potential until about 6 weeks ago when we started seeing them maybe trend in the wrong direction. But going to the tournament thinking, we had a chance at a 1 seed if we hadn't lost to Arkansas late in the year. We probably had a chance at a 1 seed had we made it to Sunday in the SEC tournament, but we come up short against a better Tennessee team that, quite frankly, I was not sold on until they performed the way they did in SEC down in Tampa. Everybody we've had on has been high on the SEC this season. And to see what the Southeastern Conference has done over the first weekend, or not done, I should say. We only got Arkansas out of the how many were there? 7? 6? I think 6.
Yeah, 6, I think.
And Arkansas is the only team left standing. I mean, Tennessee, Auburn, and Kentucky, all three of which were well suited to make a deep run. And
yeah, there were 6. There were 6.
So 6, and Kentucky, Tennessee, and Auburn all built.
Alabama as well.
Alabama was good.
Oh, okay. I thought you were about to make a different point. Sorry.
No. I'm just saying the three of those teams, we all thought were capable of making a deep run into this tournament and being a problem. We were down on the Big Ten. Look at Michigan. I didn't think Michigan should have even gotten in. I thought Texas A&M should have gotten in. I was wrong. And that's the fun part about March, because even though Michigan maybe had not earned their spot, they were trending in the right direction when the time came, and the selection committee saw that and put them in there, and they've done their thing. And when it comes to March, I said this on the episode with Angelo when we did it from Lex Live right before the Kentucky game last week. It's anybody can beat anybody. I said it in reference to the Murray State matchup that I thought was impending. And we looked over this team. I mean, when I specifically said, and I went back and listened to it, that anybody can beat anybody in March. And if we don't have our shit together on Saturday, that Murray State could take it to us. And we were 2 hours from tip-off against St. Peter's, and I never even thought about it. I never questioned that we wouldn't be able to come out and take care of business. We laid down on the job, and we'll get into the specifics of that game and many others that were surprising. But the gist of it is it's March. Anybody can beat anybody. And I assumed that starting in the second round I did not think that this team was capable of letting them.
They shouldn't have.
Letting this St. Peter's team walk all over them. Now, I will say this. I love this St. Peter's team now. I mean, after watching them against us, watching them in the next round, the way that they play is disruptive to every other offense and defense that they've faced. They're going in there to take you out of your element and make you play their way. So when we dive into the specifics of this game, that's a huge element to it, in my opinion, that they knew that they were going to make us beat them their way. And we didn't do it. We weren't capable of doing it. We didn't have the right mindset. And I noticed pretty early on when I probably 8 or 10 minutes in, I said this on the postgame show. I saw red flags, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I thought we wouldn't escape St. Peter's in 40 minutes.
But I was looking for an ugly win. I was thinking it's going to be a really ugly win.
8 or 10 minutes in, I'm like, oh shit, this is a problem. And I want to clarify, I didn't mean a problem for that game. I thought we would get out. I thought we'd be okay. I just didn't think we were in the right mindset, had the right attitude, the right swag about us to kick off a March Madness. And, you have to have that. That's an element as equally as important as luck and skill and talent and stamina. I mean, you have to have that swag. You can't go into these games looking over any opponent. And I can speak from experience because I've been on teams that did it. I've been fans of teams for years that have done it. It's literally everybody's Super Bowl. And if you think St. Peter's wasn't coming in fired up, trying to go at our throats, you don't have the respect for college basketball that you should. And I had a little bit of a rude awakening myself after that game.
Yeah, I felt like I was, you know how pessimistic I am about like Cal's coaching, and I can just be very pessimistic at times. I didn't see that one coming. I thought that impending Sweet 16 matchup, because I was just taking for granted all of the advantages that we had and not remembering that this is a coaching staff. This is a team that has been known to not rely on their strengths the way that I think you'd expect them to. But before we really go,
hey, turn your gain down a little bit. You're blowing it out a little bit. It's all right. That's what podcasting on the road does. Go ahead. Ask your question before we go into what? Yeah.
Before I really start to talk about all that, I want to hear from you, because everyone's negative. It's hard to find anybody who's essentially positive in any way. I feel like most of it is geared towards Cal. He said like, hey, don't blame the players, blame me. I mean, that's pretty much what everyone was doing anyways. So what's your vibe check on the fan base, on like media personnel, on the people that matter around the program, not necessarily in it?
Cal's not going anywhere. I mean,
that's ridiculous.
I'm about sick of it.
Shouldn't even entertain that.
That's ridiculous. I mean, people are like talking about how much it's going to cost Kentucky to buy him out. I think the number Matt Jones threw out on KSR was $42 million or something. First off, that's irrelevant. Any coach worth having right now would be stupid.
Name your replacement. Who do you want else? Forget your replacement as far as who we would want, because obviously we can name 3 or 4 people that we would like to think could fill his shoes. Yeah, those are pipe dreams though.
But one, they're pipe dreams, but 2, a coach themselves would be stupid to take a job if we were to buy out Cal, spend a shitload of money to buy him out, and entertain the thought of bringing somebody else in. If Cal, with the accomplishments that he's made, the accolades that he's made, being inducted into the Hall of Fame, winning a national title, being top, preseason top number 1 or preseason top 10, number 1, many, many times over, several Final Four, Sweet 16s, all this stuff that he's done, even since he's been at UK. What coach is going to have job security enough to think this is a good idea? I mean, there's very few people. I'm not saying there's not going to be coaches chomping at the bit to get a Kentucky job. I'm just saying, who is it that you're looking for that's going to take this job and be like, yeah, I feel safe? Because we have such a what have you done for me lately attitude here in Kentucky, and I understand it. I'm frustrated too.
Yeah,
I'm frustrated too. And I do think Cal is going to have to take a lot of this on the shoulders. I mean, I'm gonna let me find this tweet. Go ahead and make your point. Let me find this tweet. I wanted to read you real quick.
Well, I see what you're getting at, and I will not at all entertain the conversations of firing Cal or anything like that. It would bankrupt the program. It would result in, like, who else are you going to go hire? There's not. I still think he's an amazing defensive coach. That didn't really show itself the last couple games.
I mean, we did have a top 5 offense efficiency.
We did.
And I'm with you. The eye test tells me different in a lot of cases. We have a lot of moments where we stall out and we don't take advantage and capitalize on opportunities. But the offense, from a statistical standpoint, at least
I think it was inflated by. I think it was overinflated by a few barn burners and playing against bad teams. Those numbers lie, man. As much as I like to support them, they do lie. And it became clear that it's more of like the way the roster is constructed, the way pieces are put into their actual roles as far as they manifest themselves on the court. There's just something that is off. There's something that's not clicking right. That is not cause to fire one of the best coaches of all time. It is cause to tell him, hey, there needs to be some change. There needs to be some innovation. There needs to be some accountability. But if you're talking about firing this dude, I mean, who else do you want? It's just not an option.
I agree. I don't think any, again, coaches would chomp at the bit for the Kentucky job, but they're going to look at this and they're going to say, if he's accomplished all of that and he's still got the hot seat after 2 bad seasons and really 1 bad season and 1 where we fell completely short in March, what's my job security looking like? I mean, how can I take this job with a clear conscience, knowing that I could perform so well for an extended period of time, but my leash is going to be this short? And that's a big ask for somebody that's willing to bank, their family and their lifestyle and their income on a bunch of 17, 18, 19-year-old kids and the way that they perform, what they're teaching them to do. So I just think he's going to take he's going to have to take a look in the mirror after, what he's being questioned on, but he's a Hall of Fame coach. And if he can't do it, who's going to? I mean, again, you're asking the impossible with this fan base to expect teams to go 40-0. I mean, the whole time I was at Kentucky, 40-0, 40-0. That's great. Of course you want to speak, you want that type of attitude, but we come out and we lose the first game to Duke and everybody's like, oh, the season's over, the season's shot. And now all of a sudden, we lose however many games we lost and we come back full circle in March and everybody's like, we should be a 1 seed. You can't you can't take too high. The highs can't be too high and the lows can't be too low. And it certainly doesn't, you certainly don't just flip the script that quick on a man who's done so much for this program because he fell short in the first round of a tournament one time. And I know it's been more than that. I know that, last year's season is inexcusable.
Well, I think you do also have to look at, since your last year, 1 Elite 8, right?
I know. Yeah.
So there is some, we say it's all about March, but then at the end of the day, when we get to March, there's not really much to show for it. So it does feel like a little bit of that magic is gone. It does not feel like we're the gold standard of college basketball anymore. Me personally, our fan bases, our facilities are, but as far as the product that is on the court year in and year out, it does feel different. It truly, it just does to me.
Well, if that's, I mean, to kind of piggyback that a little bit, Kansas has an opportunity tomorrow, are they Friday or tomorrow? I think they're tomorrow, to take the all-time, winningest program edge over the Cats.
Do you actually care about that?
No, but what I'm kind of circling back to your point here, the fan base is I think reading too deep into the fact that that's a closer race now than it was when Cal took the job. We've played a much harder schedule through the course of the last decade. Yeah. The strength of schedule that Cal tries to put us through is questioned whether it's too light or too heavy. Everybody, if it's too heavy and we lose a couple games, everybody's up in arms because we got some L's on the schedule. or the resume. If it's too light, then you got the haters that are saying we don't challenge our kids and then we fall short when it matters. You're not going to please everybody. And I promise you, I've said this 1,000 times, he wants to win more than anybody else. I promise he wants to win more than anybody else. And he's doing what he thinks is best for this program to get these kids ready. Did we fall short this weekend? Last weekend, 100%. But he's not perfect. He's going to make mistakes. The kids are going to make mistakes. And I know that, a lot of the hate's being directed towards him, and in some cases, rightfully so. But we didn't, again, the players didn't come out with the right attitude. They didn't come out with that, we have Kentucky across our chest and we're going to squash you like a bug the way that they should have, the way that we have.
Whose burden of responsibility is that?
Both.
To make
it's both
sure
of
that
them.
the player, yeah.
It's both of them. I mean, look at the way that Drew Timme hyped his team up in the hallway on the way out for Gonzaga to play that game, the way that they came down to the wire, and the way he talked about it and the attitude that he carried. I'm not saying we don't have leaders on that team, but I never saw that all year long. I never saw that type of, like, this is our fight to take to them attitude. And to a certain extent, you expect to see that just from the will to win from an athlete.
Yeah,
and
I do think a big part of that comes from being at a school for so many years and having that seniority and that leadership.
And a lot of it's
that
the
you
fact
automatically.
And a lot of our guys on our roster lack identity because they're trying to figure out, how do I fit in with this group? Where am I supposed to, as if you're tie, right? Do you get to be the guy that comes out and tells everybody else what to do when there's seniors on the team? If you're the senior that transferred in, do you take that role? And I know that sounds silly, but like, we need somebody to step up and be like, this is our time. And so to a certain extent, I think it not only does the performance on the court, miss like 5 missed free throws in overtime. Yeah, that falls on the players. They're shooting free throws in practice. They're hitting them in practice. They've hit them in past games. One of Cal's favorite phrases is, now that you've shown me you can do it, you've set the bar up here. Don't come out and don't do that now, because you've shown everybody else what you're capable of. And that falls on the players. That's not his burden. He shouldn't be having to force them to get in the gym and shoot free throws before the tournament. If you're not hitting your free throws, get in there and do it yourself. And the biggest thing, the biggest thing that bothers me more than anything is, again, we were 1 for 6 on free throws in overtime. What's the one thing that you can unquestionably do in practice in a gym alone with no help?
Shoot.
Free throws. Step up and shoot 1,000 freaking free throws if you have to get the confidence to go out and knock them down when it matters the most. That stuff infuriates me. And that can't be put on coaching. I'm not going to hear anybody say that he's not got them shooting free throws well. If you're not shooting free throws well, get your ass in the gym. And I promise you, they are in the gym shooting. Like, he's got them in there.
Exactly. Yeah. What I would push back on this. I think you're right. You're mostly right. I would say, I think maybe it's a byproduct of us being in a different era, a softer era of basketball. A lot has changed between 2010 and 2020. You know what I mean? The social media era and all that. The guys were mortified on the court.
Oh yeah.
And they were terrified of getting screamed at. They were terrified of getting put on the bench. Kyle Tucker's reporting has been very extensive about what that little bubble around the bench was like, with Cal just screaming and being irate. And I will say, like, you're right. At the end of the day, hit free throws, coaches yell. That's what happens. But I do think accountability goes both ways. I do think that there are styles of coaching you could implement that help these younger, less established guys feel confident in themselves going out there and feel like they are empowered enough to improvise, take heat checks, that we see the worst teams like St. Peter's, that we see them do, because it's not on them. They're playing with house money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, and look at, I want to make one more piggyback off that, and then I found that tweet I wanted to read. So you and I were talking during the Baylor game when Baylor got down 25 points to North Carolina, right? North Carolina. Yeah. They didn't look intimidated. They fought back and they clawed back and they got to their spots and they got the shots that they know that they can knock down. And they never played like, oh no, we might lose this game. They played like, this is what I'm capable of doing, and I'm going to continue to do it, and you will fade. And they got back 25 points, pushed it to overtime, and ended up falling a little short. Now, they lose the game. Maybe it's a bad reference point to make, but I know with watching this Kentucky team that if we'd have gotten down 25 points, we wouldn't have fought back and pushed overtime. We would have gotten hurried in the offense, forced up bad threes, out of control. Long twos, out of control, driving to the basket, get charges, silly things like that. That kind of stuff irritates me because I feel like we have the talent and the respect to have that intimidation factor the same way that Baylor did and claw and fight back. And I didn't feel that this team ever really had carried that attitude. And that bothers me to say, because maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like it should be overwhelming feeling the other direction. Yeah. Like, oh, we're fine. But when we get down a couple points, I'm like, don't let go of the rope now, So let me read this tweet real quick. This is to this point. UK had 18 games with 0 garbage time this season.
This is Sean, isn't it?
Sean Vinsel. Sean Vinsel is who I brought in to cover Kentucky for ESPN Radio. He does a phenomenal job. He's more analytical than any human being on the planet. He sees the game entirely differently. And he analyzes it, overanalyzes it in ways that, sometimes we don't see with the eye test. And then once he gives this feedback from an analytical standpoint, it's like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. So listen to this. UK had 18 games with 0 garbage time this season. Only 2 of those games did they win the final 5 minutes or overtime. They did not have a single game where they erased a deficit with 5 minutes left to win. In 12 of those 18 games, they were outscored in the final 5 minutes. Yeah. That is a problem.
So I want to emphasize that's a good stat. I was actually going to bring that in, so I'm glad you did. What Sean means by those, he's choosing those 18 games because those are games where there's no garbage time, meaning it was a close game the whole way through. And the last 5 minutes were going to be the determining outcome of who won. There were no massive runs that created like ridiculous leads. And in those games, literally none of them was a deficit erased. It's an attitude problem. It's an execution problem. I am fundamentally, so here's my 3 points on like what irritates me the most about this offense, what I think needs to be, and when we say offense, we really mean like basically just everything on that side of the ball, like where your pieces fit together, how you're going to utilize them, what plays you're generally going to call. My 3 things. 1, I am out on non-shooting point guards, fully out on them. 100%. I think it just breaks the game today. Like 100%. You need that threat at the point of attack. You just do. And Cal has been one of the many things that he's been stubborn about is wanting a non-shooter at the point of attack, just like Maxey, Xavier, De'Aaron Fox, the list goes on. Fundamentally out on that. 2, draw up, if you're going to recruit older guys who are known shooters, draw up plays to give them guaranteed shots. That way there is no question about Kellen Grady hesitating when he catches the ball because that's not a play that is specifically designed. Here you go. You're going to shoot this when you catch it right here. Mm-hmm. Let's draw up some looks like that. Get these guys into a rhythm. I think it helps a lot. 3, call timeouts. I think a lot has been overplayed about that. I think that people, like when I look at that play, the timeout in question with like however many seconds in the game, 10, 15 seconds, and Cal didn't call it. I don't like that. Obviously, I'm not a fan of that. I think most good coaches do call the timeout right there. But people are overreacting to that tremendously. How do you get in that position in the first place? Yeah. That is what I like to focus on. I guess I have another point. Get your best players looks in the right position. How many touches did Oscar have in overtime, Todd? That is
one, I think, right?
That is unacceptable.
Was it 1?
I think so.
Yeah.
That is legitimately one of the worst utilizations of a mismatch that I would be a mismatch against that team, Todd. Come on.
You're not wrong.
Oscar is incredible. He was the only player that seemed unafraid. for the entire course of the season. He was certainly unafraid in that game, and you just don't get him the ball. What is that, man? That just blows my mind. Truly blows my mind. You should have had 50.
I'm going to be devil's advocate just for a second. The problem, I think, with that starts with your point number one. You don't have a shooter at the point of the offense. They were able to sag off, like quite a bit. And you know, as a shooter myself, if somebody thinks I can't shoot and sags off, that'll mess with you. I mean, you miss the first one and they're like, oh, he can't shoot, and they drop back. Yeah. That messes with you. Like, and
especially when there's all that uncertainty going on the bench too, where you don't know, like you could get pulled at any moment. And
correct. Yeah. That when you feel like you got a short leash, you feel like, you know, you're not being asked to play that role. And the other team knows that you're not a threat. It's a terrible combination, and they're able to sag off and take away a lot of those post entry passes that should be easy if the defense is pressed up against you. Even me, I've been done for 8 years and I didn't play much when I was playing, but if I've got the ball in the wing, I'm enough of a threat as a shooter that you're going to have to come out and take it away. Like, don't give me an open three. They're going to come out and take it away. If you're up on me, I can make that step through duck down pass into Oscar, who's going to have his man sealed with his back to the basket, or have him sealed on his back, and make a drop step move and get to the rack. It's easy offense, basic basketball 101. The problem is that they didn't need to come out there and take that shot away. And then you got 4 hands blocking that passing lane because they're able to sag off. The help side can recover quicker if you have the skip pass to take away the shot from Kellen. And it just causes, like you said, an entire disruption that should not be a threat. But if I'm St. Peter's coach and I'm sitting back watching tape of us, I know that that's the only way that we stand a chance, is to make you make a bad decision. And there were several times we tried to throw post entry from either free throw line extended or on top head of the key, you know, straight down the lane line, and either had a turnover or forced Oscar into a bad position where he couldn't get a clean look. You know, that can't happen. And it starts with the fact that the personnel wasn't a threat to score the basketball from outside 15 feet.
Yeah. This is from Sean as well. I screenshotted a few things from him. So it comes down to, like we're talking about, Savir's inability to shoot, and this isn't just on him. This is roster construction. This is not. Yeah,
I'm trying to carefully say I don't put this on one individual, including Cal or Savir. It's a combination of the fact that the way that we played all season gave us weak spots to be attacked at. And that's what St. Peter's did. They attacked our weak points.
So I think what it came down to, in the first 35 minutes of these close games, Savir had a 2-to-1 assist to turnover ratio. That's great. But in the final 5 minutes, he turned it over on this is unbelievable. He had 5 assists for every 6.5 turnovers.
In the closing 5 minutes?
In the closing 5 minutes of these games where there was no garbage time. 5 assists for every 6.5 turnovers. What does that tell you? That's not that the opposing team just suddenly figured something out. It's that when their backs are against the wall and they know they got to win this game, they're going to sell out on Savir. They're going to force him to win by himself. And it's not going to work. As you can see, 6.5 turnovers for every 5 assists. So that right there just tells you that that's why this team was struggling so much down the stretch, that there was really only once Ty got hurt, and who knows what happened. Who knows if it was a nagging injury or if it was just like a diminishing confidence thing because he felt his explosiveness go away and he was just babying the ankle. But once that was gone and you had one half-court scoring threat in Oscar, it just became so predictable, just so easy to game plan against. And that can't happen. To me, that falls mostly on roster construction.
Yeah,
because Kellen certainly wasn't doing anything by himself. His confidence had been shot for a while.
Well, I mean, to your number 2 point, we do run plays to get him looks, but we don't. The offense is kind of built around his ability to create a shot. Now, Kellen can create a shot. He just can't create a shot when they're able to sag off the other guards and help over on him every time. And there's, several sets that I feel like we might have been able to utilize to get him, like you said, you're going to catch the ball right here and you're going to let it go.
Just let it go, man. If you eliminate that decision from him, I swear to God, he would have been such a more productive player. I swear to God.
Yeah. Well, we might find out as he advances into a professional career. Unfortunately, his college eligibility is up. So, yeah. I guess we need to take a quick break and we'll come back and break down. Dive into the rest of the tournament and what the coming
that's
months
enough
might
about
look
our
like
sadness.
for the Cats.
Let's move on, man.
Okay, take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Let me take a second to tell you guys a little bit about our partners over at Bet Rivers Sportsbook. If you haven't signed up with Bet Rivers yet, now's the time because they are offering a $250 match bonus for your first deposit. What sets them apart, though, is that they require just one playthrough to turn your bonus into cash money. With their new Rush Pay instant approval, withdrawing your winnings is safer, more secure, and more reliable. With basketball season tipping off, get in on the action by going to betrivers.com today or by downloading the Bet Rivers iOS app. Must be 21 years or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. That's 1-800-GAMBLER.
Welcome back. All right, let's dive into the what the roster might look like. Since we ended the last segment on roster construction, let's talk about what roster construction might be most suitable for this team moving forward. So we know Dameon Collins is coming back. I think he is extremely underrated. I don't know that he was ready to play many more minutes this year. I would have liked to have seen him a little bit more, but again, Cal's in practice every day. He knows what he's capable of doing. I think that he's going to end up being an unbelievable asset for this team next year.
He could finally, the one thing we lacked this year and kind of last year. I mean, we had Isaiah Jackson last year. Mm-hmm. Just that dude who can just put his head on the rim and block a shot. Yep. Jacob can jump super high, but his arms aren't as long as some of these other guys, and his timing just isn't the best. Dameon's corrective tools are just out of this world, so I think that could be very valuable. Yeah,
might have to get him with Marcus Lee some this summer and get the rim protection with the length and the volleyball skills down. But I have high hopes for Dameon. Our buddy Travis Branham, who came on earlier in the season, has him, as a probably one of the higher ceilings as far as a draft prospect, even on this year's roster. So we have a lot of high hopes for him.
He's tall as hell. Like I'm pretty tall. I'm like 6'7", and I've been around the roster from this year. He was the one that I was like, whoa, dude, like you're close to 7 feet tall. Mm-hmm. Like he's a legitimate Oscar's very overlisted. He's not he's not actually 6'9".
No, he's not.
Dameon's every bit of like 6'10", 6'11".
Yeah.
So I'm very excited to have him in a feature role because another thing that really stood out, his free throw stroke was amazing. I don't know how you feel about it.
I agree.
I think free throw shooting is an indicative sign of what could come in the future for a player. And I mean, he stepped up to the line in Alabama, a very hostile environment, calmly. It's like he'd been there before. It's like, he's put the reps in clearly, and it was just easy for him. So I could see him extending his range. The body thing, it is what it is. It matters a lot more in college than it does in the NBA, but obviously for our purposes, college is more important for this podcast.
I'm high on Dameon. I think that Oscar will return. I think we'll know a lot more, obviously, in the next 4 weeks. But I feel like he's going to end up coming back. I think that the NIL is going to open up a lot of opportunity for him to make equal, if not more money than he would going in the second round for the NBA. And that's where he stands as of right now. If he's able to win not only the accolades that he's already, cleared his mantle off for, but able to add National Player of the Year to that. And it
sucks, man. If they would have just won, if they would have just made the Sweet 16, he'd literally be guaranteed.
Three of his other 4 competitors for that
Keegan
award
Murray,
are already
Johnny
out.
Davis. Who was the other one? Murray, Davis, and who? Timmy?
Abaji.
Oh, Oche. Okay.
Yeah, Oche. So 3 of the 4 top contenders are already out, which is embarrassing. But I think he stands a good chance still. I don't, who knows? I don't think he needs to hang his hat on that award alone, but obviously if he's able to win that and still decides to make his return, his price tag goes up sufficiently. I think he's able to make a pretty good amount of money being in Lexington next year. So if it's about the money, that kind of alleviates that.
Yeah.
He should be able to, get his family here possibly. Can you hear that siren? Is that really loud?
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
It's
All
all
right.
right, though.
So, I really hope that that's an opportunity that he's willing to explore. And again, the money's it's not centered around the money, but obviously if it's a determining factor for him to want to lean towards the league, he might be able to kind of scratch that as a wash. If he's able to think, if he looks at his skill development here in Lexington as better, if not equal, or equal if not better than going ahead to the league, because again, he's going to be a small fish in a really big pond once you turn pro. If he comes back here, he's going to be the focal point of this team and how to better his skill set and get him ready for the league. I think if he comes back after winning National Player of the Year, that he's obviously going to improve his draft stock as he continues to perform and put up the numbers that he has.
In theory, there's no way that a run could be worse.
No, and you develop an offensive skill set that furthers his abilities, and he's probably going to be sitting in a much better position this time next year.
Yeah.
Regardless of how the team finishes. But I also think that the team that we're trying to put together for next season is looking pretty solid so far. So let's hope he comes back. We might have Keon back. And then obviously I've talked about this before, but I don't really dive much into the recruits until they've already committed and get onto campus, because that stuff can fluctuate so much.
So I know where you stand on it. Just to clarify, just to hear you say it one more time, Shaden gone. Shaden's not playing a game in Kentucky.
Shaden was a figment of our imagination. He was never here.
Yeah. It has been interesting to see Cal totally flip-flop and say, from like pretty confident he was going to come back and telling everyone they were stupid for thinking he wouldn't, to now on his radio show, he was like, I sure hope, man. I really hope I get to coach him at Kentucky. Like, there was some real uncertainty in his voice all of a sudden. So that tells me he's probably out the door. I don't know about Oscar. I was worried about a deep run. Not worried, like I want to see him succeed, but I was saying a deep run and him being the focal point of the team and carrying a few games, even though he tried his damnedest in this one and he should have gotten rewarded for it, but he didn't. That could result in maybe him creeping into the first round and then being gone. Well, now obviously that's not the case. So I don't think his stock would be hurt by coming back. I think he's at a complete neutral right now. Mm-hmm. I think that there would be no difference in coming back and playing again or going now. You'd probably get the same deal. And then, like you said, he would just get to further hone his craft. He'd see a lot of double teams. He'd see a lot of like game plans against him. And that would definitely make him better, even though no one in the NBA is going to be game playing against him. But it would just be valuable development for him. What about Ty Ty? There's suddenly some rumors about his leaving or staying.
I believe Ty Ty went home to Phoenix to talk with his family to see what he thinks is best, obviously, for him. I think he's probably gone. If you're a lottery pick, it's really tough to make a decision to come back to college and risk possibly injury, possibly underperforming. I can tell you, if I'm a lottery pick, I'm leaving. As much as a national title in college basketball means to me, and as much as I'm very I have a really strong opinion about college basketball. Like I love it. The NBA is great, but like you don't even have the same team for a whole year. Sometimes not even a whole week. I mean, the roster shift constantly. There's nothing like college basketball. There just isn't. I mean, he's so beloved. He would only, if he made his return, he'd be one of the favorites on the roster again. People want to support him. They want him to do well. They want to, be around him, and his energy is contagious. That's not something that translates to the NBA. People don't care. They want you to win. You want to make your check, you go home. Your teammates change every day. Your coaches change every year. It's not the same. And as much as I would if I was in that position, would want to win a national title. And as much as I would enjoy college, if you're a lottery pick, you have to do what's best for you and your family and your future and take that money, and take that shot. Because if he, God forbid, got injured, especially after the, ankle tweaks that he's had this season that almost ended his career. I shouldn't say ended his career, but ended his season. You just can't take that risk. It's unfortunate because I would, I think every player, should they not have to deal with the risk factor, would love to enjoy 4 years in college. I mean, there's just nothing like it. There's nothing like college basketball. There's nothing like March Madness. And, if given the chance, I'd love to do it again. But at some point, you have to make the decision that's best for your career and your future. And if he's in the lottery, I think he goes. I don't see how many people would give him advice to the contrary. I think it's going to be obviously a lot of, him getting some feedback over the coming weeks as he goes through draft training. But if everything holds true as to where it is now and he's still projected in the lottery, I would say he goes.
Yeah, I think he's gone. I do think that his return could be just as, if not more valuable than Oscar's. Now that Sky Clark is gone, I can't name an incoming backcourt player. Can you?
No.
In the new recruiting class? I can't. So I see Severe coming back, obviously. That's yet another season where you have a non-shooter at point guard. So I'm very worried about that. I would very much love to see him come back. I would not advise him to do so. I would say get out, take your money, so on and so forth. Sucks, but it is what it is. Hopefully Oscar comes back. All right.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the tournament.
Let's talk about the tournament. So my Final Four was Gonzaga, Kentucky, Arizona, and Wisconsin. We talked about this on last week's episode. I hate picking Wisconsin. I actually was down on Wisconsin even up until about 2.5 weeks ago. But the way that their draw came, I really don't think Kansas is all that good. Obviously Wisconsin lost, but the reason that I had them was because I don't think that whole Midwest bracket is that strong.
It's pretty easy. It's a pretty easy reason.
Pretty easy reason to pick them.
Yeah. I don't hate your decision to do that.
Yeah. Well, I hated myself for doing it, but now I have no idea what's going to happen. So
I do want to pat myself on the back a little bit for knowing this Kentucky team didn't have it. I just knew it. It sucked to know that, but
not having it and dropping the ball the way we did are two different things.
Two very different things. I did expect the Sweet 16. I didn't see that coming.
Well, I'll give it to you. How do you feel about Purdue now after seeing them after the first weekend?
Good. My Final Four is still all intact minus Auburn. I had Gonzaga, Purdue, Arizona, Auburn. I still feel good. I still think that I'm probably going to end up getting 3 of those 4 Final Four teams.
Who you think you're going to let the other 3 will hold true?
Gonzaga, Arizona, and Purdue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I see them making it. That Purdue Duke matchup is going to be tough.
I originally
Gonzaga Duke.
Yeah, I was going to say it's Gonzaga Duke. I originally thought after seeing Baylor make that comeback when Baylor pushed overtime, I thought there's absolutely no way they're losing this game. I mean, no chance. I can't believe that they did that. I thought UNC would have been so diminished, so defeated without their best player, in complete foul trouble. Obviously the momentum in Baylor's direction. I didn't think there was a chance UNC was going to win that in overtime. But credit to them. They fought it out and did it for their teammate, who unfortunately was ejected for some absolute bullshit call.
It's hilarious, dude. Kentucky would have lost on both sides of that. They would have never pulled the Baylor comeback off. They would have never held strong like UNC did and won in overtime.
Yeah, a lot of credit to them. So North Carolina, UCLA, I actually think now that North Carolina has proven to me that they're capable,
I'd take them.
I think North Carolina will beat UCLA.
Yeah, Manic's not missing any time.
No, yeah, correct, and he shouldn't, because that was a bullshit call.
Yeah, it was dumb.
But I also would love to see St. Peter's beat Purdue now. I actually think that they're decently. They're not in a. No, hang on. Let me just say this. I said at the beginning, St. Peter's takes you out of your game. if Purdue can't win the way that they're used to winning, if they can't play the way they're used to playing, it's a little tougher. But they're going to
Zach
have.
Edey should be able to go 1-on-5 and
He
win by
might
himself.
he might have 50 points. He might have 50 points.
And I don't put it. I do not see a complete lapse in ability to generate some post touches for him.
Hey,
the way that Kentucky
Dougie
did.
Fresh might go for 52 though.
Dude, I'm just I'm a St. Peter's fan now too. Like,
how
if
does
I
he
could,
not have a deal with Dollar Shave Club already? What are they
I don't
thinking?
know.
He did just announce his deal with Buffalo Wild Wings, though. Congrats to him. That's pretty cool.
Or Manscaping. He could get either of those.
Yeah, Manscaped. Yeah. All right. So we'll say Purdue, North Carolina, in the Elite Eight. Purdue comes out for the Final Four for me and picks on that.
St. Peter's is getting way too much credit for beating Kentucky and Murray State. I'm just saying.
Well,
I want them to win, but they're getting way too much credit.
I understand, but I like watching them now. So now you got we'll stay down low here. We got in the Midwest, we got Iowa State and Miami. Can you believe that one of those teams is going to be in the Elite Eight? That's absurd. That's absolutely absurd. But I'll take Miami.
We do need to take a moment to emphasize how right we both were, really everyone in the country was, that Auburn's guards would end up shit the bed. Shit the bed.
They were ball stoppers to the best player, number one player in the draft. I hear it. We're good. They were ball stoppers for who's going to be a top 3 pick in the draft in Jabari Smith. And they literally had this attitude the whole time that they were like that they were like part of the reason that they are the reason that Auburn's has success. You have to play through that kid. He should touch the ball every time down the floor. They kept him from getting the ball. And I could see it, a mile away. So could you. And they absolutely came up short and laid an egg. And I actually texted CJ about it, and he was like, "All right, you were right. I what's the word I'm looking for? Concede." Yeah, there you go. So I'll take Miami over Iowa State. I'll take Kansas over Providence. And then I guess Kansas. I mean, what a part the Red Sea this has become for them. It feels like.
Yeah, Remy.
I don't think Providence has it in them to beat them.
Yeah, I'm low on Big East teams. I think the Big East day is come and gone, but yeah, that's crazy, man. It feels similar to the just the misuse of Cal's roster in the same way that Bruce Pearl has just totally shoehorned Jabari Smith into like the third banana behind those two guys.
Third banana. That's funny. I like
what
that.
is that, man? That is unbelievable. So let's
quickly touch on the South. I'm chalking the South. I got Arizona over Houston, Villanova over Michigan.
That Arizona Houston game is going to be awesome. The Sweet 16 is awesome.
Both those games are going to be great to watch. And I didn't think Michigan was deserved to be in the tournament, but Villanova is just pretty damn talented. They have a couple guys that are much better than I thought they were after seeing them play.
Gillespie's a bucket.
He's an absolute bucket. His performance the other day, Sunday, was, I mean.
Everyone watching this, I want to implore you to watch that Villanova game. Watch what having Gillespie, a certified sniper, does for your offense.
100%.
Watch what it allows you to take advantage of in the half court.
That kind of a point guard that forces the defense to stretch. I mean, you almost have to pick the kid up full court, and you can't do that because he'll wear you out. And he was phenomenal. So I think they get by Michigan pretty easily. I would love to see them beat Arizona in the Elite Eight, but if Arizona can get past Houston and Villanova gets past Michigan, like I expect, that game this on Saturday or Sunday, whichever day it falls, will be one for the books. And I hope I get to watch every single possession of that. And then I think Gonzaga absolutely smokes Arkansas. I don't think it's going to be close at all.
This is going to be Chet's coming out party because Jalen Williams is going to have to guard Timmy.
Yeah, and I think that they're going to beat them I think they're going to beat them enough that Gonzaga is going to get some rest before they have to face Duke to advance to the Final Four. Yeah, I mean, I think they're going to bop them. Like
I hope Arkansas doesn't go out sad like that. I think they could put a fight up.
For the record, Kamani Johnson, my boy Dakari Johnson's little brother, is on that team, that Arkansas team. I texted him and congratulated him on his advancement to the Sweet 16. I hope they do well. But Gonzaga is just They're too much.
I mean, Chet's going to have like a 6'6" dude guarding him.
Yeah, they're too much.
That's just recipe for disaster.
Yeah. So Gonzaga by a mile. And then I think Duke over. I was high on Texas Tech. I actually think I picked Texas Tech over Duke in the bracket to begin with to face Gonzaga in the Elite Eight.
But after seeing that ref job, you've changed your mind.
Yes, exactly.
They're not letting him. They're not letting him lose before the Final Four. They're just not going to.
So I mean, you mean before the Elite Eight?
They will play Gonzaga in the Elite Eight.
Duke will play Gonzaga in the Elite Eight. So
Elite Eight looks better on the resume as a loss than Sweet 16 does. So yeah, I guess that's true.
Well, I think Duke gets past Texas Tech, even though it might be a hard-fought game. So we'll have Gonzaga Duke for the Final Four. So Gonzaga Duke, my picks for to advance to the Final Four: Gonzaga Duke, Arizona Villanova, UNC Purdue, and I guess Miami Kansas, which is going to be
the Elite Eight. You said the Final Four. So
sorry, the Elite Eight. The Elite Eight, yeah. And then the Final Four will go. I think Gonzaga gets past Duke there. And then I really can't wait for this Arizona Villanova matchup. But after seeing the way Villanova plays, I'd love for them to beat Arizona. Arizona.
I'd love for them to as well, but
Arizona's just got a lot of weapons. Yeah, they got a lot of weapons. So I'll go Arizona.
He's climbing up my draft board. I think Matherin's a top 5 pick now.
Yeah. Well, they got too many weapons. So I'll take Arizona there. So we got Gonzaga, Arizona in the top. And then I'll take Purdue over North Carolina and Kansas over Miami. And we're going to end up with Kansas, Purdue in the Final Four down south or down on the bottom of the bracket there. And then we'll have another episode out before we go into the Final Four weekend where we'll actually be able to dive into the analytics of what that matchup could look like and who might be able to hoist the trophy, on April 4th. So this is the best time of the year. Man. It is.
I had a brief blah period after Kentucky lost. I was like, I don't even think I'm going to watch the rest of this tournament.
Well, yeah, of course you did.
I was totally wrong.
No, yeah,
that Memphis Gonzaga game sucked me right back in.
I had the conversation with Maria, where she's like, well, I don't care anymore. And I'm like, whatever.
I just love the game too much, man.
I'm a basketball fan first, and I love this time of year. And honestly, I feel a little bit of sense of relief because right now I want the teams that I want to, that I think are playing what I love, like beautiful basketball. If you're playing beautiful basketball, I want to see you succeed.
Also known as not Kentucky.
Well, I'm saying, whereas before I would be like, all right, well, I want Gonzaga to lose because I don't want Kentucky to have to face them in the national championship game. So I'm pulling for all the, the underdogs or who I think is a better matchup. Right now, I don't give a shit. I want whoever is playing the best and who, I'm pulling for. I want them to be able to come out because there's no reason for me to be to slight the people that have earned it, in hopes of a better draw for Kentucky. So it's kind of a little bit of a sense of relief after we're going into the second weekend. I'm over the initial sting. Obviously, I'd love for the Cats to be there, but if they're not, I'm going to enjoy this game that I love so much, and I can't wait for another great weekend of basketball. The whole 4 days, it's going to be fun.
Same, man. All right, the timer just went off. We went about 24. I want to ask you one more thing. We got to make it short.
All right.
But I meant to address this at the beginning. We're talking about how the situation in Lexington is, the whole fan base is just livid right now, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
And we say there's no situation where Cal could be fired. There's no quit talking about having a different coach. I feel that way too. But I will say, if he were to miss the tournament next year or flame out at the beginning, I think there is a high probability, probably a 65% chance, the situation would just become so untenable with the fan base just being completely out on everything Kentucky basketball related. I think that could happen. And I already am afraid of that first game in the Champions Classic next year and that first NCAA tournament game next year. I think there's a chance nothing changes and those players experience an ungodly amount of pressure, both from the fan base and from the coaching style and the rigid offense. And I'm scared. I got to be honest, I'm very scared about it. I'm very scared about
I
next year.
am not going to concern myself with what's going to happen next year until we even know who the roster is. But I will tell you this: I do not see that it's not often that we have teams that are intimidated. Normally we have guys that come in thinking that they're the best in the country and that they deserve to be here. Sometimes we get punched in the mouth and don't know how to respond. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that, that I don't think they have to obviously change the narrative pretty early on next year. But I think that Cal's well aware of that. Again, we're talking about a Hall of Famer. We're not talking about, somebody that hasn't proven himself. He has, and he knows how to motivate guys. And again, I'm not putting the blame squarely on his shoulders. I think he's going to eat the brunt of it. But that he'll have these guys fired up and ready to go next year because he knows that the fans expect greatness and they expect the best quality, the best product that he can put out on the floor. Again, it all goes back to this. He wants to win more than everybody else. I promise. I think he's going to, reevaluate and come out next year swinging. And I have to believe in that and what they've and the legacy that this program has behind it. I don't think this.
Todd the optimist.
I don't think.
Again.
I just don't think this happens multiple times. It just doesn't. It doesn't happen like that here. I mean, even look at how down we were. I mean, there was times, there's plenty of times that you can look back on and say that this program was, at the brink of, we had a couple engines out and we always seem to rally, from year to year or even month to month. I don't think that Cal's going to go down as the guy that let this program fall off the map. He's going to come out next year and I think we're going to have the roster and the talent and the attitude to take what's ours and climb back to the top of that mountain. It sucks to, we're fresh off of a pretty big punch in the face. Use it as fuel. Use it as fuel.
I certainly hope you're right. I appreciate your optimistic attitude. I do not share much of it. I think that an old man stuck in his ways can be a very dangerous thing, especially when you're proven.
We lost in the first round of the NIT to Robert Morris in 2013, and the very next year we went to the championship game against UConn. We came up a little short, but I can tell you that the attitude felt very, very similar after that Robert Morris loss as it does right now. And by the time October rolled around again, there were people chanting 40-0 outside of the lodge at Big Blue Madness once again. And that, as much as we might want to pretend isn't the case right now, the same thing is going to happen come this fall. And
the fans will show up. I think one more dud of a season could get dangerous. That's all I'm saying. I think it could get very, very scary.
I don't think we're going to have to question that for long.
I hope you're right. Let's get out of here.
Let's get out of here.